Hey guys. So in the frequently asked questions section of my README here, there's a note here about some things that can affect pricing that a new player may not know about, but you should know about because it's valuable information and will affect what kinds of items you may or may not choose to pick up and filter on. So let's start with confidence and dump tabs. That might be the easiest thing to start on. So I've got a dump tab here. It's a quad tab that I have priced at 50 chaos. Um, and there might be items that I will get that are worth more than 50 chaos. And if I dump them in here and I start getting messages right away from people wanting to buy the items, all of a sudden, then I know, hey, I've got an item that might be worth more than 50 chaos, and I can come look at it, price it appropriately, and move it to the right tab to be priced at the right price. Um, but typically, what will happen is when people fill up their dump tab, then they will filter it out to other tabs based on the item's price. Or if they don't feel like bothering pricing individual items, what they'll do is they'll just create a tab that is worth, in this case, I've got 50 on here, so I've created one that's worth 44 chaos. I just dump a bunch of stuff into that tab and I sit it there, and if something sells, great. If not, if a day passes and I don't sell anything, then I bring it down by a couple chaos and try it there for a day or so. If it doesn't sell there, then I bring it down and I bring it down and I bring it down until I get down to one chaos. And then if it doesn't sell at one chaos, I sell the item to the vendor, get whatever I get, and then I empty out that tab to start over again. And what this does is it causes prices on items to not always be exactly what they should be, because you might have somebody who has an item that they don't know what it's worth, so they list it high, excuse me, to start with, and gradually bring it down. But PoE.Ninja doesn't necessarily know that that's what you're doing, right? So how do they determine what is a good price? Well, they have what they call their confidence ranking or their confidence rating. What they mean by this is if you've got only one person selling a particular item for 100 chaos and they're the only person that has that item, then PoE.Ninja is going to go, well, I don't know if that's really worth 100 chaos, or is it just the fact that we've only got one person listing it? If I've got 1,000 people listing it at 100 chaos, then yeah, I've got good confidence that's what the actual price is. Now, my tool, I have not yet figured out how I'm going to incorporate the confidence rating into my tool. So you may have low confidence items that appear to be worth more than they actually are, but that's okay, because if you pick up an item that the tool says, hey, this is a valuable item, and you inspect it and find out, no, it's actually not, it's just a low confidence item, then you can sell it to the vendor, no problem. It's better to have that happen, excuse me, than the opposite. You do not want to have a situation where you walk past an item that the filter thought was a low value item when it really was a high value item. You don't want that. But the other way is okay. So that's one thing you need to know about. The other thing is what I would refer to as default pricing. Now, I mentioned I've got these multiple tabs, and then when it gets down to 1K, I'll sell vendor the item and sell it just to get whatever I get out of it. Everybody has sort of their bottom line as to where they're going to sell it to a vendor, whether it might be 5 chaos or 10 chaos or 1 chaos or maybe an alt or something like that. At the beginning of the league, it might be one alt because you're just trying to raise whatever funds you can out of any currency, because at the start of the league, nobody has money. But as you go through the league further and further, a lot of people won't bother selling anything for less than 1 chaos. So what happens here is PoE.Ninja says, oh, I've got 10,000 people selling this item for 1 chaos. It must be worth 1 chaos. But in actuality, it's not. It's just that nobody's bothering to list it for less than that. So you end up getting into a situation where you have to make a choice. You might see an item on the ground like this staff. The tool, actually, let me go into my hideout, see if it'll even show it. Or I mean the laboratory. So this item, it thinks it's it's worth whatever it's worth. Now I have to make a choice. Do I pick up this item, or do I pick up an item that's, I've got the red border around it, so that means that it's 3 or 4 inventory slots. This item's got a white border around it, that means it's 2 inventory slots. Or do I pick up skill gems that might be worth less, but take up less inventory space, right? Now, so if I've got this item that takes up 8 inventory slots, but might only be worth 1 chaos, I could pick up one of those, or I could pick up 8 skill gems that are worth maybe 1 chaos, but only take up 1 inventory slot each. Now, what's going to happen is I might not sell this item at all. That might end up getting sold to the vendor. But if I have picked up 8 of these skill gems, I might not sell all 8, but I might sell 1 or 2, right? So even though at an early stage for a new player, you may not know well enough yet which items to pick up, even if they're all listed as 1 chaos items, me personally, I'm going to pick up the smaller items first and try to sell those, because I'd rather have more things that I can list at that price than fewer things. And as you get better at pricing items and know the game more and more as you go on, you might find things that you might make an exception for, but that's at least how I handle it at this point as a new player. Then the last thing that you need to know about is what's called price fixing. Now, you might have an item, let's say this item is worth 100 chaos, but you've got 1 or more people who have it listed at 10 chaos on the trade site. They'll never sell it for that item. You can whisper them till you die, and they won't reply, because they're not interested in selling it for 10 chaos. They're just trying to trick new players into thinking that the item was worth less, so that you will sell it for less. And then they've got a live search set up. So as soon as you list the item for less, they come whispering you and want to buy yours, so that they can turn around and sell it to somebody else for the actual price. There really is no way to defend against that. PoE.ninja can't do anything about that. My tool can't do anything about that. That's just going to have to be something that you'll have to learn as you go. And that's one of the other reasons why people do what I just talked about pricing it high and bringing it down, because that's one of the only ways that you can fight against people who are doing the price fixing on the low end, is just to list it high and see if somebody will buy it. So yeah, hopefully that will explain some of the restrictions, or some of the the limitations of what I can do or what I can't do. But this is also why I created a separate slider for non-influenced rare items, because what you're going to end up finding is you're going to wind up finding a lot of these kinds of items when you get to late yellow maps and early red maps. There's going to be a ton of these on the ground, and it's easier to hide those than it is to use the overall slider to hide everything, because then you've got to go back and do manual overrides for things like maps and currency and oils and fragments and whatever, all these other things. It's just easier to hide just the rare items than to deal with all that other stuff. So that's why there's a separate slider there. All right. Thanks and good luck.